What the fuck, dude? Kane.
Ah! Sorry, sir.
What?
Kami.
Yeah.
Kami the Kami. Right? The red wave. Everything's happening. Since Survivor Series, there's just been this giant red wave. But all I keep hearing about is this blue wave. I don't hear no blue wave. That makes no sense. Because SmackDown didn't win anything. Only Raw did. And the red wave.
But they won a match. They won the pre-cook match.
But that's not the blue wave I keep hearing about on the news. They kept saying this huge blue wave has happened and everything else is going to happen. And I said, no, that's not the case. Because the red wave really won. The true brand really won. And I can tell you that it's the communist regime that's going to take over this nation once again.
Dude, are you serious here right now? What the hell, man?
The destruction of Survivor Series has caused the quantum realms to explode and everything else like that. Now, because of the red wave, everything's back to normal. Everything's back to the way the socialist enterprises are. And everything that's going to take over are the reeds of the red power!
You know what? Trish Stratus.
Computer. Make engineering lights blue. That's better.
You back with us in the land of the sane there, buddy?
I don't know what you're talking about, man. 1 minute I just watched Survivor Series, the next minute I'm just going to bed, and now you're telling me Trish Stratus. Yeah.
You realize Survivor Series was like 2 weeks ago, right?
Oh, it was like I went to sleep like last night. It must have been, a couple hours or something?
Dude, we're in December now, man.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Okay. So we are a few weeks past Survivor Series.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Nope.
Trish Stratus, and now we're here telling me this, right?
Yep.
You know what that tells me?
That we're late?
Damn right. That means we didn't do a podcast on it yet. So let's go with it, my friends. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Of course, I am Kane Super Snooker with the sleep time. And I got my man over there, Common Fade Saints, and this is Off the Ropes. Welcome back to Off the Ropes, and this is, of course, me, Kane Super Snooker, going over there from my main man in New Orleans, Comedy the Faded Saint. And my God. All right, this is going to be an interesting podcast, and that's only because this is going to be a rare occasion where me and Kami have flipped the script on our typical behaviors towards pay-per-views.
Somewhat.
Somewhat, he'll give me that, but he did not see a side of me in a while like I saw me with Survivor Series. So we're going to talk about that, of course. And, of course, we're going to talk about NXT TakeOver, which I still, to this very day, have made a principle that I have to divide both pay-per-views completely as separate entities altogether. Saturday did not go into Sunday. Sunday did not precede Saturday. Those are just two separate things to me, because if I do not think that way, NXT will forever make me feel disappointed in watching anything the main roster has offered. So even though I did that, Survivor Series still got my goat. We're going to talk about that, of course. It's always a little fun there. But before we do, Kami, how you doing, baby?
I'm just glad you finally finally got to experience the aggravation that I've been experiencing every month for the since WrestleMania.
Yeah, my optimism was not kicking it.
Yeah, I was shocked. I honestly was. How just down you were, because I couldn't watch Survivor Series live, and I was like, hey guys, how was it? And you were just straight up, it's like, don't bother watching. And I was like, wow, really? And he's like, it's shit. And I'm like, okay,
Super.
I did watch it, and we will get into my thoughts there. But I mean, I'm sorry we're late. It's the holiday season. You know how it is. We had a lot to do, and this was the earliest that we could get together. But we're here. We're here to talk about stuff, and hopefully, we'll have some good wrestling to talk about. But let's go ahead and let's dive in first to NXT TakeOver Warghames.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God. I will officially and forever always look forward to Warghames every year. Last year was great. This year topped that. I think this is going to be my new WrestleMania for me. Warghames is by far the best NXT TakeOver, and I know we've had this discussion why, but
this is only the second one, but they hit it out of the park again.
No, they did, and you know what? It was so worth it, and I'm so excited to talk about every match that happened to it, and even the first one.
Well, we have a rule here. We have a rule, and we have to stick stringently by it. If you cannot be bothered to at least make a graphic and pre-announce it, we cannot be bothered to actually review it. And that is what happened. They pulled Cassius Ohno versus the King of Bros, Matt Riddle, out of nowhere. I mean, it's just we can just sum it up really quickly. It was just a flying knee and a pin, and that was it.
It was a stunt. It wasn't an actual match in my mind.
But I mean that happened, and that led us into the actual first match. That is the Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler, with, I want to say, Jessica and Melissa. That's a Becky Lynch joke for all of you who didn't catch that. Versus Kairi Sane. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match, and right away they fell privy to the thing that just ticks me off about 2 out of 3 fall matches these days.
Burn 2 and then save the last one?
Yeah, it's like, if you're not going to give it the time to be a 2 out of 3 falls match, why bother at all?
This is true.
Like, honestly.
Honestly, though, this was a different match altogether for me. And I've watched Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane since last year when they had their pay-per-view together to equivalent that whole start of it when they did the Mae Young Classic from last year. So it's been an interesting ride. This one I felt was the most potent, though, because of just how almost like it was just a big old hate fuck. They were just so they were just so pitted against each other. They're like, just let's just do this already, finish it off, move on.
But they didn't. They're not moving on, are they?
Yeah, they kind of are. You know, they can't really do anything about it. I think this was their way of introducing the stable. So this was like their way of doing it. And of course, we're jumping ahead here. But in this case, this situation, it was really about really, really hurting each other. Like, there was some really good moments. I thought Shayna Baszler was really selling the whole "I don't give a shit about you" kind of attitude, to the point where, like, one of my favorite moments was when she was hanging Kairi by her whole arm off the side of the ring, on top of the turnbuckle too. So it was like giving it extra length. I was like, oh man, she is really trying to make sure that arm doesn't kick in and stuff like that. It was just really that elbow. It was her elbow done too. So she was trying to really fence that off. And then, you know, of course, her finisher. And I actually do like the nickname they gave her when it comes to the submission stuff. So it's altogether a very pull through situation for me to watch. And if it ends there, I feel like it got closure in a way, because even though how it finished, where the other 2 goons that she has that are going to be part of that big factor was involved, they really got themselves involved just in retaliation.
Jessica and Melissa.
In retaliation, and it still ended with her tapping. Or did it tap out, or she just get knocked out?
Knocked out. Yeah,
knocked out, leaving Kairi strong and finishing this whole thing off completely.
Well, you know what I had to say about it at the time that it happened.
Yeah.
It took 5 women to make Shayna Baszler interesting. Now, granted, I will agree, this was their best outing. Mm-hmm. That's not a really high bar. And once again, while there were parts like the armbar on the top rope where Shayna looked like a monster, I don't agree with Jessica and Melissa being out there, because for all of my criticisms of her, she is not a chicken shit heel. She's not a chicken shit heel, and
she's a bully.
Yeah. She's a bully, and she doesn't need having two other people out there. Just takes away from her already waning cred. Number 2, once again, she near falled or even maybe lost a fall to the choke out, getting put into a pin again. She is far too easily pinned by that thing. They go to that spot every single time.
Yeah, I think it's just an evolution kick though. Like, oh, well, you're doing this to me, well, I'm going to keep doing this to you. And then Shayna figured out a way to go, well, since you're trying to do this to me, I'm going to gator roll you. And that's pretty much what's going on between them. And I felt, I'm telling you, there was an evolutionary trend going on in this match.
Not a great one, but it was their best outing. It was a decent match.
It was a good firster too.
Yeah, and we got who was it else that came out? It was Dakota Kai, and
I think it was just Dakota Kai.
No, Io came out as well.
So all 3 of them. All right.
So I think they're gearing up for a 6-on-6 there. But regardless of the fact, your winner, still NXT Women's Champion, still the female version of Randy Orton, Shayna Baszler.
And also puts the big obvious comment on how a while back you say when you're a heel in NXT, you're a champion for life.
You pretty much are.
Yeah, because faces don't get nothing.
If you're facing NXT, you suck, which may, in part, explain part of our next match, which is, of course, Johnny Gargano versus Mrs. Tommaso Ciampa. That is Aleister Black, the Viking that has never turned down a ho-ho. Because he's... So actually not because he's. So here's the background the background of this match. Johnny got so like freaking involved with his Ciampa vendetta that he was the one who turned out to be the one that killed Aleister Black or whatever.
Yep.
He's kind of going in this tweener area right now where no one's really sure what to do with him. And this was a pretty good match. I mean, it was Johnny and Aleister, a lot of high spots, a lot of really just brutal kicks and knees. I mean, goddamn.
It was refreshing too to see a match with Johnny Gargano that doesn't have Tommaso Ciampa involved. And not to say that was a bad decision, because I love those two together naturally. But this match showed that there is versatility and chemistry that Johnny Gargano can go with anyone else. And this was explained because Aleister Black was just so pissed. That's the one thing I love about NXT too, is you could feel the genuine emotion behind what matches mean to these people when they have them. Because, let's face it, in the eyes of Aleister Black, he got screwed over. He lost his belt because of Gargano. He got hurt because of Gargano. Gargano is enemy number 1. And he wasn't afraid to show that. And Aleister Black wasn't afraid to show his reaction to that, him not caring about it. And it was just all around a good match. And even though he was a heel in this, it didn't step him down on a lot of the good stuff that Johnny Gargano was good for. And that was important too, because that was a good match altogether because of it.
It was. I especially liked the ending where Johnny was practically just begging to have it ended. And, it's one of those things where it's one of those things where it really couldn't have been much better. I really don't know what you do with Johnny Gargano at this point, though, because you kind of... Man, the WWE does not know what to do with faces. They really freaking don't. Because it's just like,
Well, I think he's going to go back for the belt soon.
I mean, he is, but I mean, they've killed his babyface cred. They did the same thing to Asuka, kind of, and I don't get why they can't make it work. You know, I don't get it. But regardless of the fact, it was a really good, a really hard hitting match. I definitely feel like it should have. They put it in the right spot, but everything here was like freaking gangbuster, so it was going to be hard to time any of it out to begin with.
The whole pay-per-view was a straight fire.
Which brings us to the next match. Tommaso Ciampa, the NXT champion, versus Hollywood Velveteen Dream.
Oh, God, this match. Oh, my God, this match. This match was just juice. Straight up, pure, non-concentrated juice. Because, man, it was so good. To drink that in, that match.
They had me going for a bit.
Oh, God. The heat. You know what I love about Velveteen Dream, Patrick, as many people may know from Tough Enough, is he has it all. He is like, if we could redo The Rock, this would be Velveteen Dream. He's got the cam power. He's got the mic power. He knows how to wrestle a really strong, committed, versatile match. He knows how to sell the character he's working in. And he did such a great job mannerisming his own version of Hulk Hogan throughout the match. Like, even down to one of the most common things you don't think about. But I don't remember if you remember this, but, you know, Hulk Hogan never really wrestled in good tights. And every time he had to wrestle in those tights, he had to adjust it like he was adjusting his waist.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Velveteen picked that up too. Like, in the middle of the matches, he would do the same thing that Hulk Hogan would do when he got back out. It was like the Picard maneuver of wrestling for Hulk Hogan. And it was just all around. That match was also very good because, remember, like, Tommaso Ciampa is cynical as fuck. And he was going to ruin his pretty much Velveteen's career at some point during that match with the whole Raw canvas. Mm-hmm. When he pulled the foam mats around the ring off away just to do big moves. Like, all around, it was just like potent power and everything. And the best part was that we didn't know how it was going to end. There was a lot of false finishes. And we're talking about like a lot of false finishes.
There were some legitimate times there that I thought for sure that, you know, that we thought for sure that was it. That's all Tommaso's got. They're going to put this on Dream and they're going to run with it. It did not turn out that way, but I mean, damn, y'all, like, for serious.
Well, the most memorable thing about that was how they ended it, because it made total sense. And that was Velveteen got cocky. He was doing all these ultimate blade drops, super elbow drops, and he thought he had Tommaso Ciampa in a certain position on the side apron where he goes to the top rope and does a super flying elbow drop. And Tommaso gets out of the way and he eats the entire ground, hurting his elbow to a point where he's like kind of like immobile. Tommaso hits him with a maneuver, throws him back in the ring, gets in between the two rings. Because remember, Warghames has two rings.
Yep.
He takes him and he does the suicide DDT that Randy Orton does, but right on the metal plate that holds the two rings together. The catwalk that the cameraman used during Warghames. And strong plants him right into that metal plank, drags his pretty much lifeless body back to a point where they could do a 3 count, and he hits him for the 1-2-3. Tommaso Ciampa is your retaining champion, and it was unreal the entire match. And I was
really was.
I was like, next match, I was like, oh, good luck making this next match worth something more important than two very personal one-on-one bouts for a heavyweight title. And
yet, they did. I mean, so Tommaso won, and yeah, man, I don't want him to go up to the main roster because they're going to ruin him. They do not know what to do with a Tommaso Ciampa.
Anyone.
They don't. I mean, it's at the point where I don't want my favorite NXT acts to succeed anymore. It's like, no, stay. You can stay, guys. You can stay. Everything's cool
remember that
here.
thing Brie Bella said like 2 years ago in that NXT interview or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, where they had 3 people from the main roster, 3 people from NXT talking, and he was like, "What are you gonna do when you move to the main roster?" And Brie Bella was like, "If I were them, I would stay in NXT." And I think that meant in their head it was an insult, but to us, we took it as, yeah.
Nope. But then came the main event, the match. And Warghames last year was good. But this year, they went all traditional. It was the Undisputed Era, Roddy Strong, Beaker, Hipster Dad, and Adam Sandler versus Ricochet, the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, and 2 angry Norse guys who call them, are they the War Raiders or are they the War Machine?
War Raiders.
They were War Machine on the indie, so they're War Raiders. And goddamn. So they started off, of course, with Adam Cole and Ricochet. Undisputed Era won the toss because the heels always win the toss in Warghames. Like, seriously, it's a little ridiculous. I really have to wonder if they're using the same double-sided coin each time. Just seems like those baby faces never get the advantage in the beginning.
I'm okay with it because it was a great story the entire time. Like, there was not a boring moment to me at all throughout that entire bout. You know, like when it comes to anything they did, like I can name like bits on the top of my head in that match that were not few and far between. They weren't. I could bit a lot of them. It was that well adjusted. Even when the advantage happened, because as you know, they won that match in NXT that made them allow them to get them to come out first. So it was always going to be ahead by 1, and the Undisputed Era until the last man getting back in for the other team. So they were dealing with a possible situation. Now, of course, it's all about the chemistry. What worked at last year's Warghames, they wanted to make sure it worked in this year, so there was kind of a similarity to some things. Like, for example, once the big heavy guys from one team get involved, before they jumped into the room, before they jumped into that whole the actual cage itself, because once you're in there, that's it. You're locked in there. They threw all the weapons in there, like last year with the guy from Sanity.
Yep.
Throwing all the stuff in there. So the couple of quips happened in this case too, just like last year. And excuse me. And that's pretty much what happened there, except that there was just a severe beatdown from the Undisputed Era at some point where we thought there was no recovering. 2 good moments where the Undisputed Era looked like there was no return for anyone else. First time was when they were just going straight up the end of Casino on Joe Pesci, when they were just slamming the chairs off the backs of everybody on the floor, like the cornfield scene from Casino with the bats. And then the other one is when when all but everybody was in the team was there. Excuse me, I had a tickle. That just is not letting go. Sorry. Where the whole team was pretty much suppressed on one side of the ring. Wow. My God, folks.
You want to let me take over from here?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so here's a couple of things that have kind of been left out here. The entire story of this was that on the good guys' side, there was a little tension as to who was going to take over. The order, by the way, for those of you who are keeping count, was we started off with Ricochet and Adam Cole, followed by Kyle O'Reilly, followed by the War Raider with hair, followed by Roddy Strong, followed by the War Raider without hair, followed by Bobby Fish, who then took his chained it up on the other side, keeping Pete Dunne in there. And then he went and he grabbed the chairs, and they dominated until they managed to bolt cut him out. And then Pete Dunne comes in and gets all the weapons. And then it was just absolute bedlam. There was a lot of isolating in one ring or the other. The particular one where they went back and forth at one point. At one point, Ricochet was the only one, or I'm sorry, Pete Dunne was the only one left because they just completely just took everyone else out. And he actually brawled down 4 of them right up until the point where the numbers game fell in and they put him in a double submission while they were holding the other group off with chairs. And the War Raiders ended up throwing Ricochet on over to there. The absolute pinnacle of it was the standoff between the 2 rings where they just had the perfect camera shot going right through there, them looking at one another, just the brutality, getting up to the top, the complete double-decker, the double-over moonsault, followed very quickly by Pete Dunne's running finisher and the running shooting star press or whatever it is that Ricochet did. Your winners, the faces, Ricochet, Pete Dunne, and the War Raiders. Although all of the celebrating was done by Ricochet and Pete Dunne. The War Raiders were dead somewhere. There was actually a little bit of a scare there. They thought Bobby Fish had re-injured his leg, but it turned out not to be the case. Yeah. But he's fine.
Right now, I think the Undisputed Era is like the top of the top faction all around.
Yeah, they are.
They are white hot. They are nuclear heat. Everyone loves Adam Cole, which that specific thing alone has been when he says Adam Cole, baby, and everyone just follows that crowd. That's like his catchphrase for life. And it's just going to work out for the best of him. I really hope that if they better bring everybody up, not just one. They better do it like Sanity if they're going to bring them up. And they better not do what they did to Sanity and SmackDown that they did bring the Undisputed Era.
That's my biggest fear, is that they're not going to know what to do with the fucking Undisputed Era. They're not. You know they're not going to be able to do anything with it. That's what scares me. Like they're almost better off breaking them up in NXT and then bringing them up on their own.
It kind of sucks if it does, though.
Yeah, it does.
I wonder if anyone has a choice. Like, do you want to go up? No.
They make more money up there.
Well, yeah, because they're now superstars.
Right. So, and that also, when they eventually leave, means they can demand a bigger payday on the indie scene.
What's funny though,
at least for a little bit right after.
You know what's kind of funny is that this kind of shit was going so well in OVW, it just never got televised. They wanted to keep it so local,
right?
Like that, and that's like I feel like they've gotten smarter with NXT, but in return now created this huge burden of why would you want to punish the greatnesses that are going on in NXT with the WWE main roster writing? It's just a terrible move.
It's going to be that way until Trips takes over. It is.
I'm hoping so. There's more politics that is just beyond Vince McMahon going on also in that building.
Oh, I'm sure there are, but the fact of the matter is that Vince is the one who's been holding all of the acts from NXT. He's the reason why the Ascension were buried. He's the reason why Tyler Breeze was buried, and he's the reason why No Way Jose has been given up on. He's the reason why anything happens up there. He's the reason why Sami Zayn was a heel, because they couldn't make Sami Zayn face work. And now he had bilateral surgery.
Kevin Owens was great.
Yeah, but Kevin Owens is great, but then they job him out to Braun and make him look like a complete chump. But
I think he got injured. That's why he also looked.
Well, no, he did get injured. There was that too. At any rate, though, that was NXT Warghames. Solid A. I cannot give it an A+ because in my heart of hearts, as good as it was, it will not be as good as NXT New Orleans. So.
Oh man, I remember that was the exact joke. I remember you. Well, not joke to you, but it was.
I'm dead serious. Like, it was good. It was damn good. But NXT New Orleans just was better, in my opinion. And yes, I understand how biased that makes me.
Yes, it does. But I'll give it to you because I'm still going to give it an A+. I thought this was what I love about NXT and it's like many loves, but this one's huge, is they know how to escalate pay-per-view after pay-per-view. It's because, and they thankfully, and also in return, same retrospect, in defense of WWE's main roster, they're not running 24/7 on pay-per-views and main shows, pre-recorded for NXT Wednesdays, and one show every 3 months, and the rest are house shows. So they're not getting as much exposure, so they have time to concentrate good content. And I'll give them that, but they need to learn from them because they are doing it right, and that's the problem.
Nope, I'm with you 100% there. 100%.
Let's just get over with this filth of a pay-per-view coming up.
Well, let's go ahead and let's actually start off here, because before we go to the break, before we get too wrapped up in this, let's go ahead and let's handle the pre-cook. And this is probably... Would you agree with me if I said that this was probably... let me get the Survivor Series logo up there. So Survivor Series happened the night after this. And as you can tell, we've kind of been dreading talking about it. I did not think it was as bad as he thought it was. However, I am not willing to say it was good, because remember, all of my last 6 reviews of pay-per-views, besides not counting Evolution, have not necessarily been stellar. So there's a low bar over on my end of things. But we started off pre-cooking the Tag Team Elimination match. On Team Raw, we had the Revival, the Lucha House Party, the Ascension, the B-Team, and the team of Chad Gable and Glorious Bobby Roode versus Team SmackDown, which was the Usos, the New Day, Club, Sanity, and from, like, literally out of the void comes the Colognes. It was probably the best match of the night.
And it was a 2-hour pre-cook, too, for one match.
Yep. It went down to the last teams. It was back and forth. There was a lot of really good spots. It's really one of those things that you have to watch, but it was overcrowded because it was literally a shit ton of tag teams together. And you pin one guy in the tag team, the entire tag team has to go.
Which I hate that rule.
Yeah, I do too, but it is what it is. In the end, it came down to both team captains, and while it looked like for a little bit there that Team Raw was going to pull it out, the Usos, out of nowhere, hit the super kick party and the splash, and that's all she wrote. Your winners, the SmackDown tag teams, which is actually pretty accurate. They are the superior tag team division in my estimation.
Well, you got to tell them.
What, you mean about the rest of the pay-per-view?
No, you could tell them why they won.
Oh, yeah. So it came out that, and we'll get to this on the other side, is that the only reason why they won is because somebody forgot to communicate the actual finish of the match, what they planned on. And so that's what ended up being miscommunicated. And it was not what they wanted. And it became apparent something was up because they very notably did not mention the match at all throughout the rest of the night.
Very stoically quiet about it.
Well, they were mandated to just ignore it.
Pretty much. And we'll see why, because we're going to talk about next, right after the break.
Right. After the break, we will get into the pay-per-view proper and get ready for some pain, because that's what we've got coming after the break.
See you soon, folks.
On behalf of myself and the Faded Saint and Kane Snuka, we would like to thank All Around for our opening theme, Destruction, and me, Chet, for our closing theme, Picnic in the Reactor. And this week, we have, since we're having a break this week, a lovely invasion, which I'm sure my compatriot will love. It's Goldberg versus Kairi Sane, the next invasion. Enjoy. Welcome back. I'm your boy, Carmen the Faded Saint. That's my boy, Kane Super. What's Snooker?
What?
And this week's show is brought to you by the letter L, the number 2, and the letter J. Because I will never let this joke die. You can try and fool everyone all the time, but the fact of the matter is that we know you're a Jerichoholic for life.
Well, didn't she win our Off the Rope sweepstakes giveaway where we gave her 2 tickets to the Chris Jericho wrestling cruise?
No, we gave her 2 pictures of the Chris Jericho wrestling cruise. We don't have that kind of money here.
Oh, that made sense.
Yeah. So we can't really avoid it. So let's just go ahead and just get right back into it. Survivor Series happened. We're very sorry that it happened, but it happened. You're going to see a theme. We're probably not going to be really that transparent about our feelings for it. As a matter of fact, let me finish off this beer so I can open this other beer because this is going to take some getting used to. And remember, folks, I'm the one that actually kind of was all right with what happened. He was the one that hated it. But we go ahead and we kicked off the pay-per-view with the women's elimination match. It was, and you'll have to excuse the graphic because they didn't update it in time by the time I downloaded it, but it was Natalya Neidhart, Nia Jax, Tamina Snuka, Mickie James. Actually, I'm wrong there because Natalya and Ruby Riott were kicked off the team in favor of Bayley and Sasha. So this graphic's just all sorts of wrong. Sorry, guys. If they can't be bothered to update it, neither can I. Versus Team SmackDown, Mandy Rose, Naomi, Asuka, Carmella, and Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville, yes. I mean...
First of all,
okay,
let's address the fact that this is also the first night Nia was back after mutilating Becky Lynch's face. That caused her not to be in the main match for Survivor Series.
By the way, I am off the Nia Jax train. I had not realized how many fucking people she had injured. Just straight up. It reads like a graveyard right now. Like, I was kind of on the train, but, I mean, at this point, like, she is just fucking unsafe. And the it's not ballet excuse doesn't hold water anymore. Sorry. Mm-hmm. When you injure practically everyone you're in the ring with, like, she gave what's her name a concussion.
Alexa.
Well, Alexa, but she also gave, what's her name? Mrs. Aleister Black. The Lady Ciampa.
Yeah.
Selena Vega. Mm-hmm. When she threw her out of the Battle Royal at Evolution, she shorted her so that Tamina couldn't get to her and break her fall and just straight up knocked her out.
Yep. And that wasn't the last time either. One of them was also like a couple of weeks ago with the pay-per-view, not a tag women's match. Knocked out Mandy Rose.
Yep. She is fucking unsafe. And they are playing this for cheap heat. I'm with everyone. She needs to go the fuck back to NXT if she can't wrestle. Like,
and the irony of you using the word "it's not ballet." Ballet actually has one of the more injury-based situations than most sports.
But I mean, so like this match was all asunder because they had just up and changed everything because Charlotte had to be taken out of it to go to take Becky's place. They took out like Ruby and the Riot Squad and Natalya
because it made no sense to have her on the same team as Natalya after they broke the glasses.
Exactly. It was this was already just like
this Survivor Series was a bleeding cancer already before it even started because of all the mockery changes they had to put in. I mean, all right. Actually, let's ring it off. We got the women's situation we just talked about. We also have Brock Lesnar and AJ Styles. That had to get switched because people were not going to tolerate AJ losing to Brock. And they did it actually for political reasons more than that. They did it because AJ hasn't signed his contract yet and it ends in December and they didn't want a champion like him going into Survivor Series knowing he's not going to be around. The women's match, because of Nia Jax.
Mm-hmm.
Am I missing anything?
No, I mean... I get they want to throw some last minute surprises in there. And you know what? if this was the last year that they did the Raw versus
US title and Intercontinental title matchup, it was like literally the last pay-per-view, last night before the pay-per-views. Like last Monday night was like, oh, by the way, SmackDown versus Raw's US and IC title match. Yeah, not even building that up, or even having little previews like that. Nothing.
It was the whole thing was a mess.
Yeah. There's just so much going wrong. And then let's go back to the women's match itself. Of course, it's the Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Now, what I was saying about Nia is the moment she got tagged in, the crowd went into full pre-cancer Roman Reigns, pretty much.
Yeah. Like the crowd was not having any of it.
Yeah, like, we can't take this anymore. Why are you having her? She's not worth the bump. Nothing. That kind of stuff. And it was just very, 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 like, I was almost waiting for CM Punk chants and borings and all that kind of stuff. Because, I mean, granted, a lot of the women in that match worked.
Mm-hmm.
Butts off. It just didn't mesh well, especially how they finished it. They finished it on writing again on that same heat. Nia turns on one of her own teammates so that way she can pin that teammate and then she could be the sole survivor for Survivor Series. That's how we start this shit off for Survivor Series. To betraying their own teammate just so that way that person can be the sole survivor at the end. For bragging rights?
Yeah, the whole thing was fucked. And I don't like the fact that they're just playing the whole Nia situation up for cheap heat. And this was the beginning of the god awful trend of the night. But I mean, it was a passable match. It was kind of funny when Carmella did the dance break.
Yeah, that's because they're riding that. They're also riding that train to the ground too.
Yeah, but other than that, it was what it was. Your winner, Team Raw, huzzah! And trust me, they will not let you forget it because Maggle is freaking braying the entire fucking night about the count, just like he was last year. For those of you who paid attention,
he's like that kooky uncle that likes to look at one thing on the show that's happening, and they go, "Oh, they did it again." Everyone drink.
Right, exactly. But that leads us to the next match, and that was the aforementioned Intercontinental title: Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura, the U.S. champion.
The Dick Kickery edition.
Yeah, this was a really good match. This was probably the second best match of the night.
Terrible match.
You thought so? Really?
I felt that Shinsuke was pushed way into the ground on his potential. I felt like they just took they didn't even talk to each other the entire match. It was just not there. It wasn't viable. They were just using their known
he's practically non-existent on SmackDown right now. So
they
better fucking watch out because his contract's up next year and he can go back to New Japan. He can make.
I think that's happening no matter what.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him. I thought it was a pretty good match. I think they could do better, but I thought it was a pretty good match.
I thought this match should have had Shinsuke winning. That was my problem.
It's fair. That's a totally fair.
They also missed opportunity for Dean interfering, causing Seth to lose, all that kind of stuff.
Right. But in the end, your winner, Seth Rollins. Like I said, you're going to see it.
Not even a good. Like the match wasn't like, oh my god, that was last minute. We don't know who was going to win. It was practically nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Which brought us to fucking hell. You know what? I'm finished my beer. You know what? Before I start talking about this fucking match, because this match was easily the worst fucking match on the entire card. We're going German today. I'm drinking the Vorsteiner. Yeah, I've got the Dunkel tonight. The Bar versus the AOP.
Oh god. Did the piss thing happen at this pay-per-view?
Yeah. Drake Maverick pissed himself in front of the Big Show when it was enough to distract.
And it was oh god, you know what it was so pissed off about that being that piss situation, no pun intended, was they knew the piss was going to happen because they zoomed in on his crotch before he started peeing himself.
Why is Vince McMahon a child?
I bet you didn't even say it. I bet you didn't even think about it. I think some douche goes, "Oh, who's ever pee himself?" I like that man. Just give him $1 million and head writing. That was my Vince McMahon impression.
You know, the AOP won. Let's just move past this. This is just fucking horrible.
You know, and it's even worse is they won like in a way that made Sheamus's heart look like total noobs. Like why are they champions?
They look like total dickbags. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. They're the heels, even though AOP's a heel. I don't get it. Anyway.
I don't get it either.
All I know is the Big Show was completely useless in that whole thing except for the peeing moment. That shouldn't. And what's ironic is the peeing thing apparently was a distraction that made the whole turnaround for AOP to win, too. And it just. I don't get it. Because AOP, that was his manager peeing himself. I don't know. With these weapons, I don't know.
We're done. Let's talk about
the... baffled. Like, the funny part was Cesaro and Sheamus came over like, oh, did he do something to his panty pants? And they were looking at it, realizing there was a match behind them.
Let's just go ahead and let's talk about the one match here, which we didn't have to listen to the full Raw's beating SmackDown thing. And that was, of course, Buddy Murphy versus Muhammad Ali for the Cruiserweight Championship.
I don't think his name is Muhammad Ali. Unless that was your joke.
No, I got it wrong. Mustafa Ali, my bad. That is totally 100% my fault. Nope, that was okay. No. I really just blanked there. Really good match. I expected Ali to come away with it as much as they piped him, but
I thought so too because Mustafa is actually a very talented wrestler. I love his finisher. But I was watching with somebody for the who hasn't really watched 205 Live, and this is like his first time watching this match, watching them work, and he was impressed. But he broke out. He broke away from the whole hype of it all when they announced Mustafa's finisher, and he goes, "They named it after that drug that's really not supposed to be good." like he was talking about the Spanish Fly, being that the Spanish Fly is like before the roofie, that was it. You know, like that kind of situation. You could tell I don't do any of that stuff, which means I'm a good Samaritan. But that was like it broke the whole like moment of hype because the match was good. And this is like the only match I would probably say I appreciated, even though it just. I hate to say this, but it's still Raw on the hype train because this is Raw's title.
It is. I mean, that probably is, but I mean, it's just one of those things where it was a good match. We didn't have to listen to the hype train, and it's about the only respite we're going to get from the rest of the pay-per-view.
Well, what was last year? How did the Cruiserweights do it last year? Because remember the whole bid between Stephanie and Shane if because he had to have a Cruiserweight team too, no, or something like that. What did they have that made them go? That
wasn't last year. That was the year before last. And the idea behind it was very simply that it was Kalisto versus Enzo. No, or maybe it was last year. It was Kalisto versus Enzo. And if Kalisto won, SmackDown got 205 Live.
Oh, okay. So they didn't have okay. That made sense.
So yeah, that was the deal that time, which they should have given it to him.
Oh, speaking of which, we totally forgot to honorably mention the fact that Enzo frickin' Amore.
I was trying to avoid that 100%.
There.
He got fucking kicked out because he's a fucking cancer of society. He really is.
Yeah, but he got kicked out for no good reason though. He was a paid customer. He wasn't.
No, yes, he was. He was a paid customer. He jumped up on his chair and started cutting a promo, and that's when they threw him out right in the middle of the Cesaro. This always happens to fucking Cesaro. Right in the middle of AOP the bar, he started doing his thing, and like the crowd was chanting around him, and he started causing a disturbance, and they just like, nope. He knew it was wrong, too, because they've got pictures of him fucking hiding at ringside with, like, the thing there. Like, pictures of him close up where he was just, like, sitting in, like, the third row.
Well, yeah, so he knew what Enzo. Nobody knew it was Enzo until he pulled it.
They've got some pictures of showing him there.
Well, but Enzo was, like, really trying hard to be in disguise. But it was still pretty funny. Like, they did very well to make sure that he wasn't on hard cam at all. Like, like when it comes to the whole promo cutting thing.
That's why there's a 6-second delay. Anyway.
Yep.
Moving on. Your winner, still Cruiserweight Champion, Buddy Murphy. Moving on. That brought us to the men's elimination match. It was Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler, Finn Balor, and Bobby Lashley versus Shane McMahon, The Miz, Rey Mysterio Jr., Jeff Hardy, and Samoa Joe. Look, let me just save you some time here. This was probably the superior version of last year's match, but it was pretty much the same thing as last year's match. It ended with 3 people teaming up on Shane McMahon, who was the last man standing for his team, and that was it.
Great question. Is Bray super injured?
No, Bray is Bray is rebranding at the moment.
So he's not injured, he's just off camera.
Yeah, like they're trying to repackage him. Because they somehow could not make the Eater of Worlds thing work.
Because people fucking loved that.
They did, but then he lost at every single pay-per-view, and he was all sound. That's not his fault, but there's only so long you can take something like that seriously, and they killed the fucking gimmick because he was all sound and no fury. And yes, this is actually what we're talking about to avoid talking about this god-awful sham of a match that it was.
Especially with the Miz and that last minute thing with Shane. Quick, do another coast to coast. All right.
They need to stop this thing with the Miz and Shane McMahon right now. That's
the drunken lust that Shane McMahon looked like off of that second coast to coast was ridiculous. It looked like he was seriously drunk out of his mind.
He looked tired as shit. But
yeah,
your winner, Survivors, Braun Strowman, Drew Galloway, and Bobby Lashley. Which brought us to probably the match everyone was looking the most forward to until Becky got injured. But still, this was a pretty good second place prize. Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair. Now, we definitely diverge of opinion on this match. It was a pretty good match. I liked it. When the ending hit, I was like, yeah, fair play.
I think this is what made me explode. Because this was a great one-on-one situation. They couldn't outsmart each other. They couldn't out-submit each other. They were towing each other, and Charlotte was doing great. She wasn't like she was losing. She had good steam still. Mm-hmm. And it just abrupts with this unnecessarily batshit crazy, I have nothing else to do, let's get a candlestick and beat the holy fuck out of somebody situation. And that's what Charlotte Flair pretty much did. And it made no sense to me.
I, on the other hand, was like, well, if you're going to take if we're going to do this, if we're going to do the Raw Swept Smackdown thing, what do you do to at least make Charlotte look strong coming out of that? You have her beat the shit out of Ronda with a chair. And you know what? The crowd was into it. The crowd booed her, and apparently she did not. Ronda did not appreciate.
Oh no, she hated the turnover. She thought she would never get
She did not expect the thank you Charlotte chance. She did not expect, just like they didn't expect when Becky turned on Charlotte for it to go.
Yep.
This is what you guys have done. You guys have devalued the babyface. And so now when somebody like loses their shit, like Becky did on Charlotte, like Charlotte did on Ronda, it makes everyone like, ha ha ha, look at you, now you're on the ground. Now you're on the ground crying. And that's exactly what happened here. I loved it from the fact that it was clear that they were gonna bury SmackDown, so at least somebody was coming out with something.
Mm-hmm.
But your winner, Ronda Rousey, and since it's pretty much
on the Raw fucking ticker again.
Yep, and which brings us to the last match, which should have been a dream match. And it was all right, but it's not what I was expecting. It was Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan. The first 15, if you want to know what the first 15 minutes of this match really was, just go back and watch the SummerSlam match with John Cena and Brock Lesnar.
Oh, it was that, by the way. Like 100%.
Yeah, and at least though Bryan got some good hope spots in there.
No, it was like drunken monkey fight. That's what it looked like.
But in the end, it was only ever going to end one way. There wasn't a single person. And if you say that I thought Daniel Bryan was going to win, you're lying or you're dumb.
Mm-mm.
They
Brock
were not going to
wins.
They were not going to job Daniel Bryan to Brock. Nobody gets jobbed to Brock except Brock jobs to no one except Roman apparently.
No, that's usually a big fuss. Like he asks for so much money when he loses. It's ridiculous.
And that was Survivor Series. You can tell by our tones of voice how great it was.
It was a shit show. I mean, it was like first of all, let's talk about the fact that they suppressed the tag match that happened in the pre-show so bad that they even purposely said that Raw won every single match. Every single match. Which means they thought, hey, they thought about this, by the way, in the middle of the fucking Survivor Series. Because they had to call an audible on the tag one, which they didn't, which misfired, and it didn't happen. They didn't catch the audible in time, and boom, SmackDown won. And even the Raw after, they said, oh, you can't count the pre-show. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Even Xavier Woods was on freaking social media correcting them every time they said it.
And I don't approve of how Daniel Bryan's heel turn is. It's I don't know. Every time he did that kick moment when Brock Lesnar was going to say, when he said good night, folks, I thought that was like, I was like, yeah, you're right. It's good night. I don't even know why I'm watching this anymore. And he was going to go pick him up again. He kicks him in the head. All I kept on hearing was like it's like a little goat noise every time he kicked him. It was just like comical at that point because it didn't change. It didn't do anything. It just temporarily made Brock not hurt you. Temporarily.
I mean, he got him in the yes lock there for a little bit.
And how he scaved away not to get a concussion after that match baffles me still. Because the man is known to give concussions, and Daniel Bryan is prone to concussions to the point where this match could have easily been the very last match Daniel Bryan could have ever fucking had, because Captain Concussion was at the helm with his suplex cities. One of them looked like he fucking took Daniel Bryan's head clean right the fuck off, and an F5 that looked like the F5 was going 5 feet under the mat. Still baffles me how he's still alive. Like, even just remotely not concussed about it. Like, as if he had like some spell that made him, every time he landed on pillows. I don't know. It was just complete mockery. The whole match was a mockery. All of the Raw factioning when the entire thing was pointless. You know what would have been a better story? Especially since Baron Corbin was supposed to be quote unquote, if he all these matches, he would be pretty much GM, which got bullshitted by him night after also, because Stephanie McMahon said, if you win against Braun Strowman at TLC, then you'll be the GM, is the fact that when it came to that pay-per-view, they could have easily made it where Raw was on the tip of losing, where it was toe-and-toe, 3-3, and the seventh match was going to be this big match between the men's Survivor.
Yeah, but they've never done that. They've never done that.
I know, but it would have been a great story. They could have had middles. They could have middle vignettes in between of Baron Corbin panicking, realizing this was all on the line and everything else, and they could have made it a big deal so that way the next night everyone would have been drawn into the egocentric attitude of Baron Corbin desperately getting the win he wanted and making himself look like he's the king shit of fuck mountain, not the whole I won all of them. Look at me.
Well, that would also require, for the bookers to see SmackDown as an equal show, which, by the way, for those of you keeping track, this is the third straight year that Raw's won, and to make matters worse, apparently execs from Fox were backstage when this happened.
I wonder if this was a whole Fox politics bullshit.
Well, it's come out since then that Fox has made it very clear to the WWE. There's not going to be any cross-promoting. They're going to have their own stars, and SmackDown is going to be a sports-centric show. It's going to be presented that way.
Sports-centric? What do you mean by that?
They're going to take it back to like the days of the SmackDown 6, where it is going to be the wrestling show. It's not going to be the sports entertainment. You're not going to have somebody peeing on somebody's robe. You're not going to have like the, oh, this is your life, Bailey stuff. This is going to be serious fucking business. Those titles are going to mean some shit. They want their own stars. They want people to grow, and they ain't going to put up with this. And there's not going to be all of this bullshit. This is actually more likely than not the final year that this Raw versus SmackDown thing is going to happen, because they're not going to put up with it.
But what's Raw going to be in this case? All tits and glamour?
Raw's going to be the entertainment show. When Fox gave them $1 billion, they lost a lot of control. SmackDown's going to be 3 hours, but if it's 3 hours of wrestling, that I could watch. But they've made it clear. And I wouldn't be surprised if watching this shit show, they didn't say, no, this isn't going to happen when we're footing the bill. Would you? If it were me, I'd ask for my money back right after this show.
I would say the balls if Vince McMahon goes up to him and goes, so you're going to give me like Eric Bischoff rights with Ted Turner?
But that was Survivor Series. We do have to give it a letter grade. I go back and forth on this. It was an incredibly average pay-per-view that was incredibly predictable if you know Vince McMahon. Just even the only thing that surprised me was the severity of the burial of the one brand. Like, and then they wonder why Raw was only half empty. What was half empty last night? But
terribly half empty.
At best, and understand that I am giving this show a gift. I will say that it was an incredibly average show and give it a straight C. You can do it. You can do it. I know what you're thinking to do. I've done it, and it's cathartic. It's cathartic when you do it. It is. You can do it. This show did not live up to your expectations. This show had you ranting and foaming at the mouth. It is okay. Kane.
No.
Kane.
No.
Do it.
No.
It is okay to say that this show has an F. That this show was complete failure to me. That I'm never going to see this show again. That everything about this show was a fucking disappointment. That's what the F is for. The F is for fuck off.
No, you know what? As much as I hated this show, it doesn't deserve an F. F gives them the right to go, yeah, we fucked. All right, whatever. We'll still collect their money. They need a real grade. They need a grade that they can go. They fucked up so bad that they can't even pass the class, even though they didn't get an F. I'm gonna give this show a D-.
Okay.
They need to know. They need to think in their head. But we didn't completely fail you. What's the D- for? And then I'm gonna you know what you did.
You know what you did.
You're a D- student with an F- brain.
And that will bring us to the end of our show. All I know is that like me, my fellow broadcaster here, Kane, has not been watching the main shows.
Out of protest of the very next the next Raw, and apparently,
apparently we missed the worst Raw ever. Mm-hmm. Like according to the fans, according to everyone, the worst Raw ever.
And then the Raw that we just passed, practically an empty building.
There are some real concerning pictures. Like I don't know what they're gonna do with Raw after SmackDown goes, because I have a feeling that the way Fox is going to want SmackDown presented, SmackDown's going to be a legitimate competitor, and you're not going to be able to book your ass out of it.
What's the official change up date?
I don't know off the top of my head. We'll have it for next time. It's next year. I think I want to say it's October next year. So real late next year. We got a while to go. Okay. But I mean, the product just keeps getting worse. They don't know what to do because Roman's gone.
Yeah.
The tastelessness of
I thought they got rid of Brock. That was the big deal to me.
I'm not watching Raw until Brock's gone. Mm-hmm. I really am not. They think you guys think I'm playing.
No,
I'm not.
I give you that, but it's not. That's just not enough for me anymore either. Brock Lesnar can't be just is not the reason for not watching Raw anymore for me. It's everything. They just need to really realize what their talent is. Why they're not doing it. Raw has just become
such a shit show. It's not even.
I think Seth Rollins should lose the title to Dean. Let Dean be the Intercontinental midway baddie. Seth should go right back up to the top of the sanction. Take the reins that Roman was cooking and just run with it because he is upper echelon worthy. He knows how to be a good heel. He knows how to be a good face. He knows how to be a good champion.
It's Seth, Braun, or Drew, because for God unknown reasons,
all three of them. Let them be the top titans fighting for the whole year.
I just mean like to take on Brock, but I mean I will never fucking understand how they haven't been grooming Lashley for Brock.
None of them. They shouldn't. Well, Lashley's just another wasted talent, and it's so sad too because he worked so hard on TNA and a little bit of ROH just to get himself back on his feet on being a good known wrestler. I mean, look at Shelton fucking Benjamin. Where the fuck did he go? Is he even still on the list? Did he leave?
Apparently Rhino got fired from Raw last night in a match with Heath Slater, and Heath Slater's a ref now.
What?
I don't know, man. I just read this today. I don't know. I don't watch the show.
What?
I don't know. I don't care. Well, look, we're going to go on for hours if we keep this up. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up here. We would like to thank All Arounder for our opening theme, Destructo. We'd also like to thank Meek Chet for our closing theme, Picnic in the Reactor. Our little interlude today was done by Joe Mashup. We will make sure that there is a link there for the end.
Oh, also, it was a pink slip match.
Yeah, it was a pink slip match. I would also like to also pimp out my friend at the Splice Stream, twitch.com/Splice Stream. We just finished. They just finished a tournament which Faded Saint Presents sponsored an Amiibo League. Train your Amiibo and send it in kind of deal. So that was fun to watch. And TLC is next for us, I think. Yeah. End of this month. Couple of weeks. TLC. That's the thing with Asuka and Becky and Charlotte. It's a TLC match. The first women's TLC match. I've lost him. He's just trying to figure out what the fuck they were doing last night on Raw, and he's just completely gone. He's floating away. Kane, come back to us. We got to wrap up the show. I got to do the last part of the outro. Anyway, so we will be back for TLC.
Yes. Is that the only thing that's going on, right?
I think so.
I could have sworn they were doing like a lot of mini pay-per-views before this. That's the thing.
No, maybe they did Starrcade, but we don't count that.
Oh yeah, Starrcade.
At any rate, I'm your boy, Coming the Faded Saint. That is my boy Kane Super. What? Snooka.
What?
Saying we will see you on the next podcast.
Later, folks.